welcome to my YT channel. This is again a singer eternal voice. Welcome to a new topic regarding science uncertainty principle. Okay, so this topic is very special under quantum mechanics. Okay, the problem solving is not very difficult. It's just very easy to understand that applies practical approach of solving the problem. Okay, so when we speak about uncertainty principle, so this is related to subatomic particles. Okay, so this could either electrons, protons, neutrons, all other subatomic particles. Okay, so this is not applicable to a bigger objects or bigger things, materials, and everything, right? Because if bigger, or let us say it's a very huge materials or objects, then it is certain already. Okay, so as we understand certain, meaning we can determine really the position, the shape, the movement, the motion, something like that, because we can directly see in our naked eyes, okay, in our sense of sight or visualization. So it's not talking about the uncertainty already. So this is certainty in the reverse. Okay, so that's very clear. So we need to identify the applicability and suitability of this topic. This is specifically the Heisenberg Theory of Uncertainty. Okay, this is discovered by Mr. Werner Heisenberg. Okay, so he said, or he postulated, that moving electrons or any particles, okay, would not have, okay, a certain position and a certain momentum at the same time. So it could either be having a certain position but uncertain momentum, or it could be the reverse. It could have a certain momentum but uncertain position, something like that. So this is also related to the Copenhagen Theory of Quantum Mechanics. He said also that electrons and any subatomic particles, again, would not have certain position of the particles and certain momentum of particles at the same time. Okay, so it's very impossible to determine both the particle position and the momentum of the particle. So as what we understand in our physics, momentum is mass times velocity, something like that. Even though we know the masses of the subatomic particles, particularly electrons, protons, and neutrons, I already discussed a while ago in my previous vlogs, but still it's very difficult to determine the exact, okay, momentum or exact positioning. You can only determine either one of them, something like that. Okay, I will show you an illustration to further understand also that this is gonna be not an applicability to the bigger objects. Okay, class, something like that. Okay. Okay guys, I need to off the air conditioner. Is very cold. Okay, so my AC is very cold. So this is not applicable to bigger objects or bigger particles. This is applicable to a smaller particles or the subatomic particles. Okay, something like that, guys. So this is also applicable to the light. Okay, because the light possesses two characteristics, both a wave and a particle. So this is a wave particle duality theory. Okay, so this is gonna be like this, specifically the electrons. Okay, when the electrons travels, it will possess wavelength and a wave function. At the same time, it projects a probability distribution of the location or the positioning, in which you don't know really the exact orientation of these electrons, for the main reason also that these electrons are very light. Imagine it has a mass of 9.109 times 10 to the negative 31 kilogram. Okay, so you could not expect this to be seen in our naked eye. Okay, so this Heisenberg theory of uncertainty principle would really troubleshoot and try to find out that this theory is applicable only to the subatomic particles. So in here also, we need to really to prove that it's gonna be applicable. Okay, but I want you to emphasize also that of course if the things, objects, and particles are bigger enough that we can see in our naked eye, for example, this is my notebook, something like that. This is a very big, right? And I have my laptop in front of me also. I have a mobile phone. So I could really tell that this has a certain shape, certain dimension, that when I let this fall to the ground, I can clearly see what is the location. Okay, after dropping that on the ground, meaning certain. Okay, so but for subatomic particles, I cannot hold the electrons in my hand. Okay, I cannot hold the protons in my hand. I cannot hold the neutrons in my hand because these are very, very tiny particles. Okay, inside the nucleus, the protons and the neutrons, and the electrons is traveling. Okay, in the outermost shell of the energy level. Okay, of the nucleus, as per the theory of Mr. Bohr, Niels Bohr theory, okay, something like that. So this is related to quantum mechanics, okay, for this Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. Heisenberg theory of uncertainty, right? Or principle. It's just the same. Principle or theory would mean the same thing. Okay, so I may illustrate a clear illustration so that we can really understand this topic. This topic is really special in physics, really, but I could not remember. This came out in the board examination. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, but this will be an added knowledge to all of us because we don't know. It will really comes out in the future examination or in the board examination. We don't really, right? Because this is under physics, under quantum mechanics. Okay, and quantum mechanics is one of the components of studying physical chemistry. Okay, and this has been discussed also in the general chemistry lecture. Okay, in our first year college, not so much in our high school, but in first year college, first semester, something like, or second semester, it could be like that. Okay, because quantum mechanics are discussed somewhere in the last part, in the middle of the book. Okay, if you see your chemistry textbook, the Fred Moore, the orange color, right? So if you will scan that out, then you can really see that it's in the middle pages or in the last part of the book. It's been discussed there, okay? Because quantum mechanics is a little bit complex because you'll be using here wild imagination to understand things better and properly with combination of quick critical thinking and some sort of logic and also some fundamental steps of quick mental ability to understand really what's going on that particular subatomic particles. And we are very, very familiar to that since in our elementary level of education, okay? Our teachers told that also, but that was an elementary topics, okay? But not really that complex, but at least we have already idea what are electrons, protons, and neutrons, right? And these are subatomic particles. Okay, so I will illustrate now. Oh my gosh, my voice is very soft. Because the microphone intensity and the noise level is not very high. Okay, because it is not really charged fully. Okay, guys? Okay, wait for a while. I have to discuss, right? So again, this is your virtual platform instructor, okay, Engineer Sotero Nepomuceno Jr., a registered chemical engineer of Cebu Institute of Technology University, and an OSH engineer presently working in an industry, okay, abroad, something like that, okay. So we need to proceed now. So this is my YT channel. If you want to view some of my vlogs, then you can go there and choose what among science topics you like, and then you can also watch if you want, right? Okay, so this is gonna be like this. If I will put a baseball on the top of, shall we say, an inclined concrete platform, or let us say foundation, right? So it's gonna be like this. Okay, this is a baseball. Okay. You know a baseball, or shall we say a cricket ball, a basketball, a volleyball. Ball is a round, right? Circle. Okay, so let's just assume baseball. Okay, the green color, right? This one. Okay, so if we put that at rest, okay, there's a stored energy, what we call potential energy. And then if you try to move that one, if you drop that in the floor here, it will develop a kinetic energy, right? As you push this baseball, it will result to a certain momentum. Okay, so there is a certain momentum that will be produced for this upon moving or dropping this ball downward, assuming we neglect the air resistance or the air fraction, okay, because it would also matters in our computation. Just assume that the air resistance or the fraction is very less, so that we can focus on the momentum directly, okay, something like that. Okay, now it will be dropped here on the floor, something like that. Okay, so the baseball will come here in the ground, okay, because dropping only, you are not throwing. Okay, if you drop, you could not expect that it will just go farther away from the floor because you are dropping only, right? So let's assume only, right? Okay, as the basis of our discussion, something like that. Okay, so this baseball will attain and will achieve a certain possession in a particular location, and at the same time a certain momentum. Okay, got a point? So meaning to say, it deviates the uncertainty theory or principle, because this is uncertainty, whereas here this is certain. So supposedly our topic will be certainty principle. It's not, it's uncertainty principle man siya. Okay, now let's go to another illustration, the same location. So let's assume again like this. Let's try to have a wild imagination. Okay, so one of the characteristics of a scientist and an or any engineers, okay, like that. Okay, so if we put the electron here, electron or any particles, imagination only, because we cannot get the electrons by our hands, and we will put that here, right? Okay, so let's put electrons here, electrons negative. Now if you try to drop the electron, okay, so you could not expect it will fall directly to the ground. You get the point? Because the mass of the electron is negative 31 compared to the baseball, that it's not negative really. So this is very light. So it could either, it will go there directly, okay, like this, with an angle of inclination, something like that. And the particles will scatter something like this, okay, like that. For example, there's a wall nearby, okay, something like that, okay. So it will be scattering the particles like this. So you could not say certain position and location of this electron, something like that. So you can still have a certain momentum, but you cannot say it has a certain location and position, because there will be a probability of distribution of the position as you try to push that electron somewhere along the way from this platform or concrete floor, something like that at the top. Okay, it's gonna be like that. So it's impossible. So this is now uncertainty theory principle. Okay, because uncertain siya. Okay, so what it means for Heisenberg theory of uncertainty, that would mean if the position is certain and the other one is uncertain, that could still fall on the Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. It doesn't mean that both are really uncertain. Either one of them is uncertain, it would be okay, as long as the two are not certain. Okay, if the two are certain in position and momentum, so this topic is not applicable. You got a point? Something like that. So you need to, you need to understand really what's this topic all about. Okay, but if you face future examinations, especially science examinations, science fairs, science quiz balls, something like that, if you try to be one of the contestants in your schools, okay, to represent your university, to represent your institution, something like that, where you'll be able to face a certain licensure examination also in the future in your course, then you have also to be alert to expect the unexpected, because it is really a part of physics, okay, and under also physical chemistry, okay, something like that. So now in here there's a probability of distribution of the particle positioning, okay, like that it's in here. So I will say something like this: it will go here, it will go here, it will go here, it will go here, like that. It will be scattering, something like that, okay, like that. Ganon. So you could not really be sure what is the specific and certain positioning of that particular location where the electrons might go. Ganon. So that is Heisenberg theory of uncertainty, discovered by Werner Heisenberg in 19th century, I think so. I forgot the year, but I am really, really pretty sure that this is under the discovery of Mr. Werner Heisenberg. Okay, now, got the point? Something like that. And now we go to the problem solving directly. Okay, the applicability and the application of the theories and principles. Okay, now, question number one. What is the uncertainty in the position of an electron given an uncertainty value of 0.15 meter per second and the velocity of electron? But before going further to the problem solving, I need to introduce to you the formula, the specific formula and specific equation to be used that has been established by Werner Heisenberg. Okay, actually guys, this Werner Heisenberg also obtained his theory first from Copenhagen Theory. Okay, I discussed a while ago, right? So the formula will be like this, because also for the reason also of the particle wave duality of the experiment of previous scientists regarding quantum mechanics by Mr. Schrodinger, right? He discovered the wave function theory, something like that, with equivalent wavelength and amplitude, something like that. But the amplitude is discovered later by Mr. Born. Ganun siya. If you follow the sequence of those scientists that discovered this theory, then you can really also understand a little bit. And it's easy for you to understand also to quantify the derivation of the formula and equation of this particular topic. Okay, something like that. So I need to discuss further, but I don't have to go on the details of the derivation because it takes a lot of, a lot of algebra and trigonometry, something like that. Because we will be applying the law of Pythagoras theorem. You understand? before, but it takes a longer time magud siya. Okay, then we have to determine the angle theta, the angle phi, the arc tangent theta, the cosine theta, the sine theta, and you get to the hypotenuse, the base, something like that, and then you need to, where to project perpendicular to the angle of inclination, something like that. Then it will take a lot of time really. Okay, so I'll go directly to the specific formula of Heisenberg Theory of Uncertainty. Okay, something. Because guys, if you face a science examination in the future, you will really understand because of the word uncertain. Okay, uncertain. But sometimes also English matters, they will not use also the uncertain and the certain. Sometimes they will use specific. Okay, specific and unspecific. Measurable and unmeasurable, quantifiable and unquantifiable. Those terms will change interchangeably. And then since you are dependent on the one term only, which is uncertainty, then nana. Okay, so be sure you know the synonymous terms of certain and uncertain, specific and unspecific or not non-specific, quantifiable or non-quantifiable, measurable or non-measurable, or measurable or immeasurable, meaning cannot be measured, something like that. But it can be measured experimentally, something like that. And those are applicability of the subatomic particles, really. So most of them can be measured through experimentation. Okay, now I will go directly. This anyway is very easy to memorize. Okay. Okay. The first thing to do, guys, the technique of studying is you have to read first. Okay. Then second, reread it again. Okay. And third, you need to familiarize the terms, the wordings, if you understand or not. If you don't know, then go to the dictionary. What's the definition of that so that you can understand? Assuming that this is not an actual examination only. For example, you read books, social media, online, surfing, and you don't understand the terms, right? For example, okay, I just met two words yesterday, okay, like that words, for example, myocardial infarction, okay? Myocardial infarction, we don't know that, right? Not all people know the definition for that, right? Okay, but since I read that last 2 weeks, myocardial infarction is just the same of heart attack. Okay, if I will say, oh, my neighbor died because of myocardial infarction, nobody will understand that because that's a medical term, right? But then you read that in certain columns or articles, okay, written by a doctor or a health professional in a social media, whatever, then you research the definition technically, then you can understand the meaning that is also the same as heart attack. Okay? So heart attack is a silent killer of a person who has a very high blood pressure, hypertension, and a very, very poor blood flow circulation. Okay? Something like that. Or there is a defective parts already of your arteries. Okay, the hardening of your left artery is one of the causes also of heart attack, because you will be developing that because your heart is having a first stage of cancer known as arteriosclerosis. Okay, the disease of hardening of our arteries due to poor blood flow circulation and excess deposits of cholesterol and other harmful substances. Okay, accumulation in our cells, tissues, and veins in the arteries, something like that. In the blood vessels, and it will produce clots. Okay, so it will not transport the nutrients and the oxygen during the pumping of oxygen going to the brain, going to the liver, going to the kidney, or whatever, right? So it's a very important function of the heart. Oxygen and nutrients also to be spreading in different main organs in the anatomy of our immune system or inside our body. something like, okay? So that's myocardial infarction. Now there's another term also I read, stroke. Okay, the stroke, it has to do something with the brain. Okay, brain. If that is cerebral infarction. Okay, we need to say, somebody died because of stroke. You will see also, somebody died because of cerebral infarction, and nobody understands also that. Okay, unless you are a medical professionals. Okay, you are doctors, nurses, physical therapists related to medical. But if you are not a medical student, or you are not a professional or a health professional, you cannot understand that, right? So you can understand through reading only. And you go to the dictionary and search for the technical definition for that, then bingo, you can understand what it meant or what it means, something like that. Okay? So these are very important diseases, myocardial infarction and cerebral infarction. Okay? And then if you, for example, anosmia. Okay, I read that yesterday only. Anosmia meaning the loss of smell. Okay, anosmia. So I don't have to talk about COVID because it's prohibited in social media in the YT. Okay, it's part of the restriction of the YT community. If you talk about sensitive issues, especially the PENDEMIC, your channel will be demonetized. So I don't have to talk, and I want to elaborate further for that. Okay, but for that, anosmia is the loss of smell. This is one of the symptoms of COVID-19. And the loss also of taste is agueya. Asgueya. ASGEUA. So that's medical terms also for the loss of smell and the loss of taste. Okay? Get the point? There's a word as asgeya and asomia. Asomia. Okay? Ganun siya. Okay? So if the words are trying to reversed, then forgive me because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. Okay? Anosmia and asgeia. Okay? Again, anosmia, the loss of smell. Mawagtang imong panimaho. Okay? Asgeia, mawagtang imong taste. Muna siya yung mga symptoms of COVID. Okay? So going back to the topic with this Heisenberg Theory of Uncertainty. Okay? So I need to introduce to you the formula. Okay? Sorry guys, I need to, sometimes I need to incorporate other terms, other topics that could be a part also in my discussion. That's my weakness. That's why my vlog will take a longer time. Really. Because as I told you over and over again, this is not scripted. Okay? I don't prepare what to talk. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just what comes on my mind, I will be able to share with you guys. So I need to be spontaneous all the time because I love doing this. I don't want to be dependent on, structuring my lecture, something like that. Maybe if given a chance in the future, I am one of the professors in a certain universities or institutions, then I could have also a systematized way of discussion. Okay? Especially if I have education units on how to teach properly. If you have already the content, then the delivery also matters so that the students can really extract properly with their comprehension and they can really understand what we are talking and what we're discussing with, something like that, okay? So it's not also good that you are only developing your content without trying to be effective in your delivery, in your discussion, something like that, okay? So going back to the formula, I am talking so fast, guys, or not? It's clear? Any questions so far? I need to modulate my voice because it's already, here, prime time already. Okay, this is not also day offs, okay? Regular weekdays. So I just love to vlog, really, okay? So my brain cells push me, Sotero, vlog like that. Because my revenues are always rising, guys, really. And I'm very, very thankful to you, to all of you guys who are really passing by my YT channel and watch a little bit. It's really escalating, though it's not really escalating very high, and it's like a graph. Okay, experimentally it really rising, right? Okay, something like that. So I will never withdraw my profit in YT because I want to grow. Okay, I want to grow my uh, what do you call this one? Passive income. Okay, I want to grow my money and I want to withdraw that one. So I will withdraw that, for example, after 5 years, after 4 years, after 3 years, when I will be able now in the Philippines or whatever endeavor that I will be able to pursue something in the future. Or I don't know really, right? Or in the future, I will finish my master's study. Okay, because I plan to continue my master's study. Okay, but I don't know what exactly the university really is because I don't like. Sorry, disclaimer. Sorry, guys. Maybe there are students of the University of San Carlos here. Maybe you will be angry with me. Sorry. Okay. University of San Carlos is having a quality of education. I know that. Everybody knows that. Okay, in Cebu City. Okay, but in my case, I cannot cope up. Okay, really, I cannot cope up. That it doesn't mean difficult, but I cannot cope up the way they are trying to very what do you call this one? Strict, meticulous, very stringent, something like that. Okay, then I cannot cope up. I go to other schools that are really not really that meticulous or stringent, okay, or rigorous in platform of educating the students. They are very rigorous, meaning to say very rigid. Okay, very rigid. For example, the length of the Manila paper must be like this. The height of the Manila paper like this during your reporting, and then the distance between like this. Very particular in the dimensions like this in your reporting, and then if you will not commit that one, then you will repeat, you will reward because your visual aid is not obeying their criteria, something like that. Sorry po ha, disclaimer lang din talaga. Maybe you're studying in the University of San Carlos. Oh, sorry po. Okay? So, very particular in the margin, something like that. Really. Oh, I found it difficult because during our times also, when I was in college, that was a time that the computer technology is not yet booming very well. Okay, we are just using still the t-square. Okay, for that in our engineering drawing, and now they are having now the AutoCAD. Okay, but before we are using the t-square, and then the computer technology is not really that enhanced compare as the 2000s up. Then I could say I'm not really that familiar with some operations of the computer, honestly. Okay, okay, not that is not my course specialization, but that time it's not really the technology is not really that enhanced. Okay, it's somewhere along the 2005 up, 2002 up. The technology are in our school. This is subjective, because other schools also are very advanced already at that time. Okay, we don't have parallelism with our university and institutions, right? Because we have different facilities, we have different technologies, and the story of something like that. Okay, so some schools have abundance of resources. They have a very big library. I'm not telling that our school don't have a big library. I'm just telling that it's gonna be like that. Okay, so not the same. Okay, so at that time in our time before, okay, the technology is not really that booming, booming, or enhancing, okay, or escalating, something like that. So it's not yet in the upgrade situation. Nakakaloka, upgrade situation, upgrade system. Okay, something like that. Okay, going back, ang katabian gini mo Sotero, yes. Okay. That's why I love reporting really, okay? During our colleges, if there's reporting, sus mo volunteer jud ko, maguna-una jud ko, in fairness, okay? Because I love reporting that much. Okay, going back to the formula and equation to be used. So, Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. Okay, this is the formula of Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. Okay? Guys, already 35 minutes. If I will make my vlog and live streaming scripted, I think I can finish this in 10 minutes because I will never have side talks. Okay? My purpose only is to enjoy what I am doing. Okay? And I'm really inputting some topics that are related to the specific topic that I will be able to discuss to you guys. Something like that. Okay? Uncertainty. Okay? Oh, Heisenberg theory of uncertainty or Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Okay? Something like that. Discovered by Mr. Werner Heisenberg. Okay? And the formula will be delta x times delta p greater or equal to, okay, the Planck constant. Oh my gosh, I told you to memorize all the constants in science. Okay, again, come back here. Planck constant over 4 times pi. Pi is 3.1416, right? In algebra or in trigonometry. Okay, this is very special. Why? Because not all formula in mathematics and science have like this. Greater or equal to. Most of the equations and formulas should have equals directly siya. And what's the reason for that? The reason for that, class, I will be the one to answer. This is delta x, the uncertainty of the particle possession, and delta p, the uncertainty of the momentum, the particle momentum, greater or equal to the Planck constant over 4 pi. Why like this? It's not directly equal. Because it's in here, you are using the method of probability, probabilistic approach. Okay, meaning you are not really sure. Okay, that's why it's not equal directly. If it is equal directly, that you are really sure that the left side will be equal to the right side. Try to substitute the values of each quantity in each side. But in here, you are not really certain. That's why uncertainty principle. Okay? And then the approach that we will be using here is probabilistic approach, not deterministic approach. Now I will explain. Deterministic approach versus probabilistic approach. Okay. In our mathematics and engineering courses or other courses that have specialization in mathematics, we have probability and statistics. Okay? So probability meaning the chance, okay, like that. Okay, the possibility that it will be happening to be like this, to be like that. And so it's a probability, meaning we are not really sure exactly or 100%. Sometimes, not sometimes, for sure we have reference to consider with. Okay, reference initial, reference final, reference A, reference B, somewhere along in the middle. It's in here that our specific answer will be here, not really going up, not going down, meaning to say uncertain. Okay, probability. So probabilistic approach, meaning we will be using the theory of probability distribution. Okay, as we know also in our chemistry lecture, okay, plus physics lecture, that the electron will act as a wave and a particle due to the wave-particle duality theory in quantum mechanics. Okay, meaning we need to account the probability distribution of the positioning of the wave function or the wavelength of this electron particles. Okay, something like that. The same as the photon particles. Okay, get a point? Because in here, guys, subatomic particles. Photons are also subatomic particles. Photon, P-H-O-T-O-N, are light particles that carries electromagnetic forces or radiation that holds the electrons. Sometimes, so see, that holds the electrons. So meaning to say, photon is really an electron by combining their energies. Something like that, okay? Equilibrium. The energy of the electron plus the energy of the photon is in equilibrium with each other, then bingo, they are acting like a particle that travels in a discrete particles called quanta. Okay? Quanta meaning the energy are being quantized. Okay? So I don't have to discuss so many things because there's a lot in general chemistry lecture. Okay? Something like that. So the basis of physics are also in the general chemistry lecture, right? Okay? So something like that. Okay, now going back. So this is the basic formula, guys. Now I have to tell you some slight inconsistency also, but this is not really a very big inconsistency. Okay, but point something lang yun siya. Okay? Ganun naman siya talaga, di ba guys? If there are point something, sometimes the other point will be irrelevant and negligible already if you substitute it in an equation. Okay? But I think 0.03 lang siya. Okay? That's why other books are using also another value. For example, Planck constant. Planck constant, other books using 6.67 times 10 to the negative 34. Okay? Like that. Sa Planck constant. Ganun siya. So, joules second. Joules second meaning joules, tuldok, or period, or dot second. Meaning multiplication. Okay? Something like that. So other books also stated there 6.62. Okay? So what is the difference when zero something, right? So it would be okay. But we need to be precise technically. We will just be using the 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34 joules second. Okay, for the h here, small letter h. Okay, pi over and over again is 3.1416. Okay, it's in your calculator, but we need to memorize that one because bunog na ni siya. Okay, kasi sa amateur singing contest, this is just the same song that you will always sing in a singing competition, or a lot of contestants will sing this song. So meaning bunog, gas. Okay, it's just the same also in science. The word pi is very common that used all the time since in your elementary education. Okay, because in your elementary education, I think grade 4 or grade 3, we already discussed the circle. The area of the circle, pi r squared, circumference is discussed there already. And again, it will come back in college. Okay, and still you don't know what is the value of the pi. Okay, especially if you are an engineering graduate, science graduate, something like that. Until now, you don't know what is the value of a pi. So this is all subjective. It depends on the situation. For me, it's an insult. Okay, it should be memorized completely if you are an engineer. So that is 3.1416. Okay, inject that or engrave that in your brain cells. Okay, so that is pi, the value of pi. Okay, going back. Charot. Okay, the formula of momentum is again over and over again. Momentum is equals to the mass times the velocity. Okay, so meaning the unit of momentum class in our physics is kilogram meter second. Something like that, okay? On. Now guys, if the problem will say, calculate the mass of electrons with 20% uncertainty. Like that, how can you do that? Or calculate the position of an electron with 10% uncertainty of the position. Meaning you have to multiply directly. If you get the answer of the velocity, just multiply that with a percent. Because uncertainty, magud siya. Okay? It's not certain, right? Uncertainty. For example, my Momentum is 10 kilogram per second. If I will say, if 20% uncertainty, so meaning to say 0.20 times the value you already solved. Just like also with positioning, okay? It's very clear. Okay, now we go to the problem solving already. So, oh my gosh, 44 minutes already. So what is the uncertainty in the position of an electron given an uncertainty value, see, uncertainty value of 0.15 meter per second in the velocity of electron. Oh my gosh. It looks like difficult, right? Especially if you are not familiar with the terms and terminologies. Okay, especially this topic really are not discussed very well in physics because this is really subatomic particles. Really. Okay, so we're not really interested that much in the very, very, very tiny particles in the nucleus. Okay, though we study that also, but it's not really that detailed and comprehensive, especially unless you are a astronaut or you go to the outer space, right? Because you know time requires an infinite energy, okay, to accelerate any objects in the outer space, right? You cannot go there without infinite energy because it needs billions of energy to accelerate the spaceships in going to the outer space, okay? So that means time is already irrelevant, okay? And then also it's in there that you need to have an immeasurable and imaginary time and space, okay, just to travel as fast as that spaceship in the outer space. Imaginary meaning very, very immeasurable time and space. You cannot predict, you cannot determine. Again, probabilistic approach. Because you are not sure. There's no instrument and device to measure really the exact momentum and positioning of those spaceships in going to the outer space, right? So that's very clear. That's an obvious reason and a logical reason enough to prove. Okay, something like that. So it's gonna be like this. Okay, velocity. Okay, mass times velocity. Mo na siya yung hinungdan, guys. Okay, that the spaceships and the astronauts, okay, the BS, what do you call this one? BS Aeronautical Engineering or BS Aerospace Engineering. That's their course, right? If they study BS Aerospace Engineering, they will become automatically as an aerospace engineers. Okay, now they are registered aerospace engineers. They study a lot of subatomic particles, velocity, speed of light, and everything about subatomic particles because their target is to be in the outer space in the universe. Okay, and it's not a joke. Okay, it requires, I told you, it requires infinite energy to accelerate any object to the outer space. Imagine, infinite energy. How can you compute that one? Infinite, as you understand, infinite in the dictionary, it means it's immeasurable, okay, boundless, okay, something like that, okay. So immeasurable, boundless, or infinite, that is synonymous terms in English, huh? Okay. Now, okay, so we need to have the velocity 0.15 meter per second. Okay. Guys, amo kalibo guys. Okay, velocity of speed, maura gina siya. The only difference, the velocity is a vector quantity, considering the magnitude and the direction. Okay, but because in this topic, guys, we really need to look at the positioning, the exact location by probabilistic approach. So that's why this is velocity, not the speed. But it can be used interchangeably if you are referring only to horizontal distance. For example, I'm driving my car and going to the site. So that's only very easy because it's motion only by a car, motion only by a track when they meet with each other, how much time when they approach with each other. So it's very easy to solve that kinds of problems, right? Because it's only horizontal distances. So in that manner, you can use the speed because you are not particular with the direction. Okay, but in here, velocity are particular in the direction. It could be in the southeast, okay, northwest, northeast, okay, something like that. The directioning, just like a typhoon or tropical cyclone, right? The declaration of the intensity of the particular tropical cyclone will be based on the magnitude and the direction of the wind, speed, something like that. Okay, that's why velocity talaga siya. The right and technical term for that is not speed. Okay? But of course, the reporters are just journalists. They are not scientists, right? They are not engineers. Of course, they will just report the speed of the typhoon like that, but actually that is grammatically incorrect. That is velocity. The velocity of the wind is 2 meter per hour because there's direction. Okay? Southeast monsoon, northeast monsoon, something like that. That's direction and the magnitude, right? And then why still using speed? Okay, that could prove that their courses are not really engineering and not involve sciences because technically they are referring to the incorrect terminology. Okay, something like that because they are English majors, the reporters. Okay, Noli Di Castro. Okay, something like that. Okay, Karen Davila. They are not scientists, right? They are journalists. So they are not concerned with the technicalities of the scientific terms. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, something like that. And it's understandable also because of their field of craft or career path, something like that. Okay, so going back to the problem solving. Okay, 0.15 meter per second. Again, velocity. Okay. Mailhan gid siya ang velocity oy king ano, mutuyok-tuyok, zigzag-zigzag. Maglisod na ba yung kag-compute sa speed ana? You get the point? For example, if the wind will be whirl WHIRL, okay, like this, can you compute for the distance? Because speed is distance over time, right? And velocity is displacement over time. So we can compute for the displacement, but we can never compute the speed because that's too erratic, zigzagging in effect, especially the subatomic particles. All you have to do is to determine the initial position A and the final position B, which is our displacement. So displacement over time is the velocity. Okay? Vector quantity, not scalar quantity. Okay? This is very clear. Okay, now going back to the momentum is also mass times velocity. Okay, now the mass here is not given. Hala. So we are having problem here. Uncertainty of the position is delta x. Question mark. Hala, uy. It looks like difficult, but it's very easy to solve. Sometimes also, guys, our mentality, our mind only will tell us that it's difficult, but actually if you try that to solve, it's very easy. Really, if you feel that one also, right? You can relate that if you are taking engineering course. Sometimes the paragraph is very difficult to, oh, this is very difficult, but we try to solve na siya, tuloy-tuloy ang ligaya, something like that. Okay? So, sometimes it will, what do you call this one? It will trick you out. Okay? It will trick you out, but then it is easy to solve pala talaga siya. Okay? So, just like this, guys. Okay? Momentum, mass times velocity. We are given by the velocity and we don't have the momentum and we don't have the mass and we don't have also the position. Three quantities to be solved. It looks like difficult because in algebra we need also three equations if there are three quantities missing or required. So it's not like that because we have constants. That's why I keep on telling you guys to memorize all the scientific constants starting from your elementary level of education to your college. Okay? So that it will retain to your brain cells. Okay? Something like that. Mental ability. Okay? And Nobody will teach you like that. Okay, so it is instinct. Okay, meaning to say, when you are born in this world, in this planet Earth, it will be automatically the right thing to do when you go to school. Get the point? Nobody teaches you, just like intrinsic property of substances in chemistry, right? Something like that. Intrinsic property and extrinsic property, extensive property and intensive property. I could remember these properties because this is the last question during our chemistry quiz ball when I became the champion before. Okay, in our high school chemistry quiz ball competition. Okay, the last question is all about this. They give the quantity and it tells you what this type of property, and the answer is intensive property. Because there's a lot of property of all substances, okay, in the matter, okay, solid, liquid, and gas. It could have intensive property, extensive property, intrinsic property, extensive property, homogeneity, heterogeneity. That's why we have homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixtures, something like that, okay? It has to do something with the phase. P-H-A-S-E. Phases of matter. Dili mo ka ha. P-H-A-S-E. Something like that. Okay. And I'm also very lucky at the time during the quiz bowl because I think there are only less than 5 problem solving. Okay? And there's a lot of theories and questions during the quiz bowl. Okay, so you know na, kusog di kay ko memorize. Okay? Not only kusog memorize, but ako man yung sabton before ko memorize pod. Okay? Kay if you will not understand what you memorize, di man siya mo pilit sa mong utok. Okay? That's a reminder. If you will not understand what you are memorizing, it will never engrave in your brain cells. It will never retain in your brain cells. It will never stuck in your brain cells. It will never accumulated in your brain cells. It will never deposited in your brain cells. So these are synonymous terms in English. Okay, so there's 4 terms, right? I used. So it could be used interchangeably in a sentence. Okay, so it will stuck in your brain cells. It will be accumulated in your brain cells. It will be deposited in your brain cells. It will be engraved in your brain cells. It will be retained in your brain cells. So there are 5 synonymous terms that have the same meaning. Something like that in English, right? Okay, you can relate if you love English also, because I love English subject so much. Really. Okay. My gosh. Listen, if you are good in English, you are not also good in mathematics. That's correct. But sometimes also, there are also good in mathematics and good also in English. But what I am telling generally, if there are math lovers, they cannot speak very well. Okay, in front of the public. Okay, their public speaking capability is very less or average, something like that. But if you are not really that good in mathematics, average, and then there's a tendency you're also good in English. Just like an uncertainty principle, right? I tell you, if the certain position of an electron, then the momentum is uncertain. It's also like that in analogy of the human being. Okay, we are not given by God the whole, academic excellence in all aspects. We have also weaknesses in other subjects, okay, or in other areas like that. It's just happened for me, mathematics really, okay? Really. Okay, ang bright na mathematics ang akong brother. My brother is very good in mathematics and the oldest one also. Okay? My education mathematics, something like that. Okay? And then our oldest sister, she almost became a top-notcher in education. Her score is 84%. Okay? In the licensure examination for teachers. And in fact, she never studied one day before the examination. I remember that because I was young at that time. Okay? And then we go to a certain fiesta to watch amateur singing contest. Really. And my sister don't study. And next morning will be her board examination. Really, and we are very surprised. And then her score average is 84%, and at that time the top 10 is 86%. Right? So almost na lang siya nag-top 10 doon. Okay? Something like that. So, bright kay siya. Charot! Charot lang. Okay? Charot lang. Okay? Going back na tayo. Okay. Gabi na kayo. Na fairness. Okay. So, ato na siyang i-substitute. Sorry for the Bisaya language because I am a Bisaya. I am a Cebuano. Okay? I'm just talking because I want my vlog and my live streams to be universal. Okay, it could go somewhere along the way in the global market, universally. Everybody can understand something internationally. That's why I used my medium of instruction is English. Okay, because it's an international language, right? So if you use Bisaya and Cebuano, then others cannot understand also. And this is academic information. This is very useful also to some students, right? So we need to discuss this in English language or in English communication as much as we could. Okay? Something like that. Our medium of instruction will be English language. Okay? Unless if this is a personal vlogging. Okay? Luto-luto lang siya, outing-outing lang siya, party-party lang siya because it doesn't require mental ability. Okay? To deliver that kind of vloggings and live streaming, chika-chika raka, something like that. But here you have to, you know what I mean. Okay? I don't have to explain further. Okay? So, ganun siya. So, we have to compute for the momentum. Mass times velocity. So, in this situation, guys, we need to scrutinize. English na naman. So, scrutinize. Na-adyo ni warning na ko ani ay na di ko niya pagamiton og malaglom na English. Kaya di ko no kasabot. Nireklamo gid siya. Guys, sorry for that. Because I've been in journalism for a very long period of time. Since high school. Okay? As I told you over and over again, I am one of the editors of our publication school paper when I was in high school, and I'm also one of the editors in our publication paper in college. Okay, the Technologian in Cebu Institute of Technology University, something like that. So it could not be denied. I can still use profound terms and languages or vocabulary that is not common to everybody. Sorry for that, okay? Because that's really spontaneous. I did not intentionally do it. It will just come into my mouth, into my tongue when I do my discussion. I'll try as much as I could. I will try my very, very best to use the simple terms. But sometimes really, it will come out on my tongue, in my mouth. It just happens. Sometimes. Please forgive me, okay? Sometimes I really use, not difficult, profound. Meaning, laglum siya ba? Okay, something like that. Okay, because we are trained to that also when I was in high school. Okay, I am one of the, editors, something like that. And then, honestly, I won also in one of the editorial writing competition. And I was joining in an regional level, something like that. Okay, so I have experience for that also. That's why, forgive me if sometimes my words are really that simple enough to understand with. Okay, now apart also for that also, I keep on reading. Okay, I keep on reading, okay, during my day off, or even before it. I am already an OFW at the time. It's really my hobby, really, since I was in high school. If I read books, newspapers, articles, or watch TV news, whatever, I need to, scrutinize the definition. What's this all about? And it became an attitude for me as I grow older, like that, until I became a registered chemical engineer already. I still do that. Okay, when I read articles, I still research what's the exact definition of this terminology so that I can understand further. Something like that. Okay? And thanks to God, really, this is also an advantage for me in passing certain examinations. Okay? Because of the interpretation. Okay, the interpretation and comprehension is very important because the questions are delivered in English language. Okay, it's not written in Filipino. It's not written in Cebuano. Okay, that's the advantage. So it's a gift from God and we should be thankful and should be grateful. Okay, but we can also develop that by ourselves to start now, if you're very young now, because it will be good if you're starting at a very young age. Really. Okay, so starting from your elementary, high school, guys, please join journalism. Really, it will help you a lot. Something like that, okay? And that would be a benefit for you also, okay? I don't have to tell another story because this is not for the storytelling. Charot! Okay, going back. So, now guys, 1 hour and 5 minutes na. Okay, grabe kay kung nag-chika-chika. Okay, the mass of the electrons, as I told you a while ago, is 9.11. Let's finish this in 20 minutes. 9.11 times 10 to the negative 31 kilogram. Okay? Guys, through constant, we can also help to have the value of momentum. And we have also the velocity, then bingo, we can have the momentum. Okay? Naman tayo velocity nga 0.15. As tayo mass electrons. I use the mass of electrons because it was mentioned in the paragraph. Okay? Like this. Claro? Okay. Now, we have the momentum and we use this formula of Heisenberg Theory of Uncertainty. Okay? Mathematics naman lang ni siya, guys. Okay? Basic mathematical operation. Algebra. Okay, so it's gonna be like this. So delta x kay possession, uncertainty possession ang gipanita. So delta x is equals to mass. Okay, 9.11 times 10 to the negative 31. Okay, times velocity 0.15 is equal na siya. Wala na tamo ingon greater or equal to. Okay? Because the purpose of that is for the theory that the answer should always be greater to the left side. For example, I have the quantity h over 4 pi. This whole quantity is always lesser to the other side. That's why delta x, delta p greater or equal to h over 4 pi. Okay, and you should also remember this in elementary. Gitudluan na taani asa mo atubang ang arrow. Right? So, kung gikaon ang mga number, greater than. Kung ang iyang kanang tumoy, tuwa sa luyo, less than. Muna akong timanan sa una when I was in elementary. If this facing to the quantity, it's greater. And then ang iyang tumoy, nilayo. So, less than. Then, I keep on memorizing that until college. And still useful until now. Okay? So, greater than, less than, equal to, ganun-ganun siya, chupa-chuchu. Okay? So, elementary level pa lang siya. Okay? So, h, Planck constant, 6.62. We will use 6.62 na. Okay? Because of slight inconsistency for other books, other sources, something like that. Okay? So, negative 34. Okay? 4 pi. 4 times 3.14, 16. Ganon. So in this manner, directly substitution, we can obtain the value of the uncertainty of the electron particle of the possession. Possession of the electron particle. Okay, delta x. Ganon. So, atong ibutang diri, ilang tao, wala bang ko'y calculator? I don't have scientific calculator because it was left in my office. So, I'll just put like this. I don't want to use the mobile phone also, okay? So, calculator will be the best, right? I don't want also to deal with exponent. Really, I don't love exponents. An evidence that I don't really love mathematics. Okay, because I don't like too much high exponents. This is negative 34, right? And this is negative 31. How can we do that? Okay, so very, it's very light. Light. Okay, very light particle. Okay, we cannot see by our naked eye. Something like that is purely wild imagination. Okay, so delta x, nanatay delta x. So, guys, in quantum mechanics, most of the units are expressed in micro blah blah blah. Okay? Micrometer, microns, mga ganun siya. Micro. Okay? So, ang ganitong micro, micro is raised to the power negative 6. Right? Tama ba? Negative 6 or negative 3? Negative 6. Kaya negative 3 is milli. Right? Am I correct? Correct ba? Just correct me if I'm wrong. Okay? So, ganun. So, we have the delta x na siya. Okay? So, this will be our uncertainty in the position. Bingo! We are now solving the problem. Okay? I have still 10 minutes more. Okay. The other problem also in problem number 2, what is the uncertainty in the position of 2 kilogram ball will given an uncertainty value of 0.15 meter per second and the velocity of the ball is like that. So this problem only, it really requires you to prove that this kind of problem is not suitable or applicable to the subatomic particles or this Heisenberg theory of principle. That's why they let you to solve this also to compare, to have a comparative study between the two applicabilities between the subatomic particles and larger particles or the macro particles, something like that, or the objects we see around us. These are macro objects, meaning larger scale. Okay, we can touch, we can measure the length, we can measure the width, we can carry. So these are macroscopic objects. Okay? Microscopic objects are those subatomic particles that we cannot see in our naked eye. Electrons, protons, neutrons, photons, leptons, neutrino, wow, electron neutrino, tau neutrino, grabe, bosons, Higgs bosons, a lot of subatomic particles, right? And the quarks. Wow. And the photon. Okay? So there's a lot of, if there are subatomic particles, there are still subatomic particles. Okay? So, break up gap na siya. Just like a quark is composed of a neutron and electron, something like that. Oh, sorry, neutron and a proton. Okay? Because electron is outermost shell ng Fermi. Okay? Nakakaloka. Okay, something like that. Okay guys, very clear. So in this problem number 2, we're trying only to prove, that's why it is applied in the problem, but in reality, this is not applicable to this particular topic. To let us have the comparative study between micro and macro particles. Okay, something like that. You get the point? Okay, any questions so far regarding to this sharing of academic information regarding to Heisenberg Theory of Uncertainty? Anybody? Any questions so far? If you have questions, then you can object. You can have your own criticism or whatever. I can accept whatever because this is social media, okay? So there's no limit or boundary or restriction regarding our comments. But let's respect, okay? Let's be professional the way we comment, okay, and we know that already, right? And then you can also have that healthy discussion. You can PM me directly in my FB Messenger, especially if there are technical information, the subject to be debated with, right? For example, if you are also a mechanical engineer, industrial engineer, or a scientist majoring in chemistry or physics, something like that, and we don't have a parallel views, technical definitions or whatever, then you can send me in my FB Messenger and we can have a healthy discussion after all, right? We don't have to quarrel or to have conflict in the comment section. Okay, something like that. Then if you are not subscribing yet my YT channel, you can subscribe if you want. And you can click also the notification bell of some news update. I'm a singer, eternal voice. Sotero. Bye bye everybody. God bless. See you tomorrow for my next vlog session. Thank you so much. My gosh.